Welcome back, y'all. I've been super under the weather for the last week or so haven't gotten any content out, but I really wanted to get this video out because I think that we are kind of in this golden window of opportunity with these recent market pullbacks. And I do think we are coming up on the time period that we've all been waiting for. And I can say for me personally, this is what I've been building my positions for the last 3-4 years, while I've been building out my fleets and my different businesses within the DePIN space. And of course, I'm talking about the next leg up in the bull run and altcoin season, where altcoins go absolutely parabolic. But first, I am going to talk about what's caused some of the recent pullbacks in the market. And then I'm going to get into the catalysts that are coming up between now and the end of the year. And there are a lot of them. But before I get started, I have to remind you, nothing in this video is financial advice, okay? These are my personal opinions. I don't have a crystal ball, and you should always do your own research. All right, let's get started. There's really two main events that have led to this market pullback, one being Germany and the other one being Mt. Gox. So Germany has been selling off Bitcoin in droves the last few weeks. Back in January, they seized about 50,000 Bitcoin. The value of that, I believe, is about $3 billion. So they have been massively selling off, especially this past week. And that has definitely led to some downward pressure on the price of Bitcoin. And as you probably know by now, the rest of the market tends to follow Bitcoin. The good news here, though, is that they have now sold about 90% of their holdings. So we have that pretty much behind us at this point. The other event, though, is Mt. Gox. So if you don't know what Mt. Gox is, it was a crypto exchange in Japan that was founded back in 2010. And by 2014, it had become by far the largest Bitcoin exchange in the world. It was actually estimated that about 70% of Bitcoin buying and selling was done on this exchange specifically. That same year, however, in 2014, they announced that they were insolvent because they had mysteriously lost 850,000 Bitcoin. To put that into perspective, at today's values, that's about $50 billion. But they were able to recover a percentage of the Bitcoin that was lost. And after a decade-long wait, it is expected to be repaid to creditors in the coming weeks. Now, it's estimated that there's roughly 140,000 Bitcoin that's going to be distributed. That's about $8 billion worth of Bitcoin. So there certainly could be further pullbacks in the market with this coming. There are a lot of people that are calling the bottom right now. I don't know if the bottom's in. I do think the Mt. Gox thing is being overblown. There are a lot of people that are saying that all of that Bitcoin is going to be sold. Certainly, I expect that a percentage will. These people lost their Bitcoin when it was at $500. They were essentially forced to diamond hand all the way up to $60,000 or $58,000 where Bitcoin's at right now. For a lot of those people, I'm sure this is going to be very life-changing money and they will liquidate. But there is another factor that you should be aware of. There are some investment firms that were able to work with the Japanese government and acquire, basically buy this Bitcoin from these creditors years ago for a discount. So in other words, if you had lost your Bitcoin in Mt. Gox, you could sell your Bitcoin at a discount to these investment firms to access your capital right away because you don't want to wait 10 years. Well, these investment firms bought up a significant percentage of the Bitcoin that's going to be distributed, and that's smart money. I would have to think they know where we are in this market cycle, so there's a good chance that those firms do end up holding. So I believe it is estimated that roughly half of the Mt. Gox distribution will hit the market. It could also be sold OTC, where it doesn't really impact prices much. We'll have to wait and see. But the silver lining here is the inflows from the Bitcoin ETFs. So the Bitcoin ETFs launched earlier this year, and the market absorbed a lot of this Germany selling because we have seen massive inflows from the Bitcoin ETFs. The reason why I'm most bullish about this, though, is there's a lot of speculation that the second that we had a correction in the price of Bitcoin, there'd be panic selling from these Bitcoin ETFs. It was quite the opposite. We've seen them buying the dip in a big way, which is a very good thing. Now, that brings me to some of the other catalysts here, and first one being the Ethereum ETF. This could launch within the next week. I mean, if you look at what happened with the Bitcoin ETFs, BlackRock alone has already brought in $18 billion since launching earlier this year. And it is estimated that the Ethereum ETFs could bring in as much as $10 billion. Now, if you think about that, the crypto-minded people that are holding Ethereum are going to be able to take profits. I absolutely see that flowing into altcoins. I think this is going to be absolutely bullish for alts. And we could see altcoins start to go absolutely parabolic. In other ETF news, there are several entities that have applied for Solana ETFs. And it's estimated that we could see that as soon as March 2025. So obviously that would be very positive news for the crypto industry. Then we have the FTX situation. So if you remember, FTX exchange tied to Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda Research, he mishandled customer funds. Well, they have now recovered the assets of the people that have lost their money. And in October and November, that is going to be distributed. And while FTX does owe them $11.2 billion, they also are going to have to pay interest payments. So it's estimated that $14.5 to $16.3 billion will be distributed. Now, based on the research I've done, I believe this is going to be distributed in the form of stablecoins. So these are crypto-minded people that are about to get $16 billion worth of stablecoins in the midst of a bull run. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that we could see a meaningful percentage of that enter the market. The next thing we have is Michael Dell, the 12th richest person in the entire world. Well, he started tweeting about Bitcoin, and it sounds like Dell Technologies is considering buying Bitcoin. And there is speculation that not just Dell, but other institutions have been buying Bitcoin up over the course of the summer. Now, if that is the case, they will have to announce that in their filings between September 9th and November 22nd. Well, if you remember what happened back in 2021, when Elon Musk announced that Tesla had purchased $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, Bitcoin surged to all-time highs. So if we have, a Dell or another larger institution make an announcement like this, talk about adding fuel to the fire. And then just today, we got the CPI numbers, or the inflation numbers. They came in below expectations. And the likelihood of the Fed lowering rates in September shot up to 88.8%. So if we do start to see rate cuts, I think in the short term, at least, that would be very bullish for crypto. I have different feelings about that in the longer term time frame, but I'm going to cover that in my next video. And then there's the upcoming election. So I'm not going to get into my personal feelings about politics, but following the debate in June, I don't know if that was a debate so much as them arguing about their golf handicaps, but regardless, coming out of it, it does look like Trump is the favorite right now. And I think it's worth noting, Trump announced that he would be speaking at the Bitcoin conference at the end of July in Nashville. He has also been very vocal about being the crypto president and wanting to bring Bitcoin mining to the US. Now, whether or not he thinks that Bitcoin mining involves a shovel and actually digging for physical coins, I don't know. I don't really care. The fact of the matter is, if he does get elected, I think it could be a positive thing for crypto specifically. And of course, I can't end without showing you some charts. Looking at this chart, this guy Max tweeted this out. In 2017 and the 2020 cycles lasted exactly 1,067 days from the bear market to the cycle top. Look, if this happens again, that would put us in play to top out in Q2 of 2025. I have to say that's pretty much the sentiment I have. And not just because of the charts. I'm looking at the different catalysts, the different things that are actually happening that can move the markets. So in summary, again, I don't know if the bottom's in. I can tell you right now, I'm dollar cost averaging into my positions. And once the market takes off, I'm pretty much set. So hopefully like this video, I gotta say I am struggling a little bit, but I tried to bring the energy here. In my next video, I'm going to talk about my profit taking strategy. I learned a lot through mistakes that I made in the last market cycle. So I'm going to cover what those mistakes are, how I'm adapting my strategy for this market cycle with those learnings. So you won't want to miss that video. As always, I appreciate your viewership. Signing off, this is Bradley Meyer with the DePIN Connection.